Welcome back to the Crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is continuing to hold above this crucial area of support while the US stock market is further pulling back after yesterday's bounce in the short term, which is not good news for the crypto market, as we're now seeing Bitcoin play out a bit of a double dip in the short term, but also flash a new signal that we need to pay attention to while the price of Ethereum is continuing to hold above this important level of support, alongside Solana doing the same, holding above this important area of support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to take a quick look at the US stock market. This right here is the S&P 500 index on the 1 hour time frame, and we can see that in today's trading day, we saw another dump in the US stock market, a further pullback, continuing this larger pullback that's lasted for roughly around a week now. And obviously in the previous trading day, just yesterday, we did see a bit of a bounce in the short term for the US stock market, which I talked about in my last video, that can help the market, the crypto market, just in the short term. And yes, we did see a bit of a bounce just yesterday in the short term in the crypto market. But now that we're continuing another dump in the US stock market, obviously this is helping to cause a bit of a double dip in the crypto market, as we can see right here in the price of Bitcoin in the short term, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But it's just important to be aware of what the US stock market is doing, because this can also heavily influence the crypto market. And so, for example, if this shorter term bearish trend or pullback or whatever you want to call it continues in the US stock market over the coming days or weeks, it's unlikely we'll see significant strength in the bullish direction for the crypto market if the US stock market is looking like this. So keep that in mind. Any short-term bullish moves in the crypto market might only just be short-term moves, not really larger strength in the market, at least while the stock market is looking like this. So keep that in mind. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin price charts today on the weekly time frame, the super trend indicator still technically sitting in the green, not yet confirming a flip into the red or flip into a bear market, at least not yet. But if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, obviously we still have this massive bearish divergence already confirmed, already playing out, as I've been warning about here on the channel for weeks now. So not a lot has changed over the last one day on this chart. Continue to expect a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum, which means at best choppy sideways price action, but most likely a bit more of a pullback coming over the next few weeks or months as a very likely scenario. Once again, that's exactly what I've been saying every day for weeks now on the channel already, and has already been playing out over the last few weeks as predicted. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, right now the price of Bitcoin is still holding above this important area of support here that we just recently bounced from over the last couple of days, and that's sitting in between around 99,000 to 100,000. So at roughly $100,000 give or take, still expect a lot of support around there on the price chart. But if the price of Bitcoin actually confirms a break below this area of support, in that situation, the next support I'll be watching would be at around 97,000. And below that, I'd expect more support at around 93 to 94,000. But once again, for now, still expect a lot of support at around 99 to 100,000. And if we're looking at the shorter term here on the 4 hour time frame, we can clearly see that the short term situation is still technically bearish if we're talking about the trend or the momentum or the price structure. Once again, we can see short-term bullish moves, but overall, we're not really seeing a lot of strength right now, which has already been clear for weeks now. If you've been watching this channel over the last few weeks, obviously with this bearish divergence pointing towards a lot of weakness coming over the next few weeks, if not months. And so this chart once again is telling us that only expect short-term bullish moves from time to time, but those are just short-term moves. Overall, expect a lot more weakness in the market for at least a period of weeks, if not months. But we do have a possible new signal starting to flash, but not currently confirmed here on the 4 hour Bitcoin price chart, which is a possible bullish divergence. Now, obviously, we don't yet have lower lows in the price of Bitcoin, which is why I'm saying is something that's possibly forming, but not yet currently confirmed. Because if we consider the fact that obviously the RSI, at least for now, is forming higher lows, in fact, well above this previous low, at least for now, in the 4 hour Bitcoin RSI, if we just see a slight little dip below the previous low in the price price of Bitcoin in the candle closes, which obviously we're not far off. It hasn't happened right now, but if we confirm a candle close on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart below these previous candle closes at the previous low, then of course that would confirm a lower low in the candle closes in the price, and then we'll just need to confirm the higher low in place in the RSI to actually confirm a new short-term bullish divergence. And if that actually happens, obviously we still need to see those confirmation signals, but if that were to happen, then we could see a little bit more of just a short-term bullish relief, meaning a slight bullish relief or maybe just some choppy sideways price action, because basically it means expect a bit of a break or a relief from the bearish trend, but not necessarily a massive reversal into a huge new bullish trend, just a bit of a short-term relief. But either way, like I talked about in my last video, I said yesterday that it is quite likely we're going to play out a bit of a relief anyway here in the short term, whether that's a bullish relief or maybe it's possible we just play out a bit of a sideways consolidation. But either way, usually after a decent bearish move like this, we tend to see over the following days the market kind of stabilize a little bit and have just a bit of a break from the bearish price action. Obviously not no bearish price action, but in terms of the structure, having a bit of a break right now. So instead of heading straight down like this, we're likely going to either be range bound or maybe have a slight little relief over the next few days. Once again, this is only talking about the short term. If we're talking about the next multiple weeks or months, still expect a lot of weakness based on this massive bearish divergence still playing out. And remember, consider what the US stock market is doing as well, because like I said earlier in the video, if this is showing a lot of weakness as it has been doing over the last 1 week, that's also not really good news for the crypto market, at least in the short term. So overall, those are my expectations in the immediate short term for the price of Bitcoin here, but still not looking too good if we're talking about the next few weeks or months. And when it comes to my trading strategy, personally, I am still in the same Bitcoin grid bot, the trading bot, which basically automatically buys low and sells high. So obviously, while we're seeing the dump, this can temporarily enter into an unrealized loss, as it is currently sitting, as of recording this video, in a slight unrealized loss. But you can see the current realized profits over here, the grid profits, is slightly offsetting that unrealized loss, because basically this is essentially a trading bot that holds Bitcoin and continues to buy Bitcoin as the price goes lower. As you can see right here, all of these green lines are buy orders. So if we see a bit more of a dump, it'll just buy more Bitcoin at these lower prices, all the way down towards $70,000 is the bottom of the range I've set here. And now I want to make this clear. I'm not saying the price will go to 70,000. I'm just saying that's the bottom of the range for this trading strategy, so that if the price of Bitcoin bounces anywhere between now and 70,000, which is roughly around here, basically the bottom of this chart right here, or if we're looking at the weekly time frame, roughly around here, if the price bounces anywhere in this region and sees a decent recovery back towards the upside, then this trading strategy makes money. Remember, it's not a short-term trading strategy where I'm planning to make profits overnight or just over the next 1 or 2 days. This is a trading strategy that I could potentially hold over multiple weeks, maybe even a month or a couple of months. And so once again, that trading strategy can enter into an unrealized loss while we're on the downwards movement. But then once we eventually see some sort of bounce back towards the upside, or whether it's a bounce right now or a bounce from a lower price, as long as we see some sort of decent bounce, then it'll start to trigger all of those sell orders and start selling the Bitcoin that had accumulated at these lower prices to secure profits. And you can see right here, the liquidation price for this trading strategy is at roughly $42,000 per Bitcoin. So basically, if it dumps below 70,000, below this level right here, if it dumps below that level, then it stops buying Bitcoin. If it dumps below 42,000, then the position gets liquidated. So we have to go all the way down there without seeing any sort of bounce along the way in order to actually secure profits along the way. So basically, that is still my trading strategy as of recording this video. And once again, I'm still in a slight little loss, but the moment we see a slight little bounce, then this can quickly flip back into profits. And if you want to copy this trading strategy, as always, not financial advice, no guarantees, but you will be actually getting a better entry than what I've gotten on the trade. So if anything, it's even better to have this trading strategy starting right now than when I started it, because we're at at lower prices. So you're accumulating the initial Bitcoin at obviously better prices compared to a few weeks ago. And so if you want to, I will leave a link below this video. In fact, the second link below this video will take you to this page right here where you can copy my exact trading strategy if you want to. You can see it's been running for around 20 days now, almost 3 weeks. You can see the current unrealized loss and the realized profits annualized. And so with a single click of a button, you can copy this exact trading strategy of mine if you want to. Once again, it's not a short-term strategy. It's ultimately betting on some sort of bounce or a bit of a recovery happening at some time. It doesn't have to be right now. It's not a strict long position. It's a grid bot trading strategy. So it is possible we could dump first and then see a decent bounce. Either way, the trading strategy will make money for as long as we see some sort of decent bounce, ideally before we reach 70,000. And because this trading strategy of mine is set up over on my Pinex account, of course, you will need a Pinex account in order to copy this trading strategy if you want to. And you have to actually have a Pinex account set up using one of the links below the video, because unfortunately, if you don't use one of the links, this copy button simply will not work. So if you're actually using the first link below the video, you can also take advantage of some other bonuses here. You might as well do this if you're going to be trading crypto anyway. For example, just by simply making an account using that first link below the video to Pinex, completing KYC, you get a 50 USDT bonus on your account. And there's also deposit bonuses. If you deposit just $100, you get a $100 deposit bonus. If you deposit $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus onto your Pinex account. Basically a bunch of free money here from the exchange just by simply making an account, completing KYC or completing deposits here to claim these bonuses. But remember, all of these bonuses here are only available if you're using that first link below the video to actually make your Pinex account. And remember, if you want to copy this trading strategy, it's the second link below this video. But that's a quick update on my trading strategy for Bitcoin. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we could still see a lot of liquidity building above the price at roughly 112,000 and also at around 116,000, and we have a smaller amount of liquidity building below the price at around 98.5k to almost 99,000. So it's possible we could hit that liquidity slightly to the downside considering how close it is to the current price. But honestly, for the most part, I do expect either a sideways consolidation for the price of Bitcoin or maybe just a slight little relief. I don't expect a lot of strength in the market, especially if the US stock market continues looking like this. Don't expect a lot of bullish strength for Bitcoin while the stock market is looking like this. But overall, I do expect just a slight little break, maybe a sideways consolidation from this larger bearish movement just in the short term. Remember, only potentially for a few days. And if we dip slightly below this previous low, do watch out for this possible bullish divergence currently forming. And if you want a no KYC exchange to trade crypto, personally for that sort of stuff, I like to use 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also use. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below the video. And if you use that link, you can also take advantage of a bunch of bonuses here. So once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check it out. Third link below the video. And you can claim up to 10,000 USDT in trial fund bonuses and 8,000 USDT in actual withdrawable stable coins just by depositing and trading crypto using the link below the video to 2bit. And on top of that, without making any deposits or any trades, you can claim a free $30 sign up bonus and 1 month free VIP 3 upgrade. So basically very cheap trading fees over on 2bit and essentially free money from the exchange just by simply making an account. It takes about 30 seconds to do this using that third link below this video. And once again, in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance on the daily time frame, and right now the Bitcoin dominance is still struggling at my exact area of resistance that I've been targeting for a long time now on the channel. Since basically all the way back down here, I've been saying expect a slight bullish relief over the coming weeks, but watch out for this resistance. This is the area where it will likely start to struggle at or possibly reject from, as we've seen it perfectly 2 times now, in between around 60.5% to 61% in the Bitcoin dominance. And so at least while this struggle is happening in the short term for the Bitcoin dominance, while that is happening, that is some good news for the altcoin market. Now, obviously, don't expect a massive altcoin season based on this alone, because especially if Bitcoin and the stock market is showing a lot of weakness in the short term, it's unlikely we're going to see significant bullish price action for altcoins just based on this alone. But basically, the altcoins can at least hold up relatively okay compared to Bitcoin, while the Bitcoin dominance is struggling like this at this resistance. In other words, things could be a lot worse for the altcoin market if, for example, the Bitcoin dominance breaks out. If the Bitcoin dominance breaks out above 61% with confirmation and holds above that area, that would likely trigger a much further bullish move towards the upside, likely towards around 62.5%. So around a 1.5% jump towards the upside in the Bitcoin dominance, which if that were to play out would be very bearish for the altcoin market, likely causing some major bearish move for a lot of the altcoin market if we first confirm a breakout. But remember, right now in the immediate short term, we're still struggling at this resistance, which means continue to expect a bit more of a slight relief for altcoins compared to Bitcoin, not necessarily against the US dollar, because right now if we're looking at Ethereum against the US dollar on the daily time frame, we're still holding above this important Fibonacci level of support here, sitting at around 30.50. So basically in between 3,000 to 3.1k, expect a lot of support around here. And if we break below that area, in that case, expect a little bit more support at around 2.8k and around 2.6k. And clearly in terms of the price structure on the daily time frame, we're still clearly in a bearish trend for the price of ETH, forming lower highs and lower lows. So yes, we could see short-term bounces from support, little sideways consolidation, slight reliefs during the bearish trend, but ultimately we are still within a bearish trend that could likely last for a period of weeks or months, basically similar to how Bitcoin's playing out the larger bearish divergence here on the larger time frames. It's a somewhat similar thing for Ethereum right now. And if we're taking a look at this daily Ethereum price chart, of course, one of the reasons as well, on top of the fact that we bounced from this Fibonacci level of support, another reason as to why we saw that slight little bounce over the last one day and why we might continue a bit more of a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief is due to the fact that we hit oversold, and we're still pretty close to oversold in the daily Ethereum RSI. And the last couple of times this happened or got close to happening, we did see a decent bounce in the shorter term over the next couple of days or so. And now it's important to understand that this by itself is not a bottom signal. It's possible we can ultimately go lower later on, like what we saw the last time it happened. But once again, just in the short term, this can help to cause a little bit more of a relief for the RSI, which means either a sideways consolidation or a slight bullish relief for the price. But remember, based on this alone, this is not enough confirmation to confirm a massive bullish trend reversal out of the bearish trend. So overall, in terms of the larger structure, the larger momentum or trend in the market on the daily time frame, we're still looking very weak right now, still clearly looking more bearish than bullish. It's just this could possibly cause a short-term relief during the bearish trend, kind of like what we saw here or here, for example. And as for support and resistance to watch out for on this Ethereum price chart, we have this area now starting to act as new resistance, which was previous support. Once again, now acting as new resistance in between around 33.50 to 34.50. So roughly around 3.4k, slightly either side of 3.4k. Expect resistance around this area now, and if the price continues a further rejection, maybe after we first play out a little bit of a relief like this, maybe in a couple of weeks, for example, if we continue the larger bearish trend, the next major area of support towards the downside, aside from these Fibonacci levels, these retracement levels, is sitting in between around 2.7k to 28.50, so roughly 2.8k as an important area of support. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, it's a similar situation for Solana as what I just said for Ethereum. Technically, the structure or the trend, the momentum still looking very bearish, still showing a lot of weakness in the market. But in the immediate short term, we're currently holding and slightly bouncing from this important area of support just in the immediate short term, which is sitting in between around 143 to 147 approximately, which is pretty much exactly where we bounced from. And so continue to expect support in that area. But if we start breaking below that area, below around 143, especially with candle closes below that area, in that situation, we could find a small amount of support at roughly 135. But really, the next major target towards the downside would be sitting at roughly around 125 to 126. And as for resistance to watch out for, expect some resistance at roughly around 157 to 158 and major resistance closer towards 170. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, we're still playing out this massive bearish divergence. Not much has changed over the last one day on the weekly XRP price chart. Continue to expect a lot of weakness, quite possibly a much larger pullback over the coming weeks or months, which is exactly what I warned about months ago now on the channel. So this is still playing out right now. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, we also still have this bullish divergence, which is technically confirmed with one confirmation signal. But considering the latest little rejection right here from the golden pocket, which I'll talk about in just a moment, if we create a new lower low in the price, then it would have to actually reconfirm the bullish divergence again. But at least for now, as of recording this video, we do have a bullish divergence. We do have lower lows in the price in the candle closes and higher lows currently confirmed with one confirmation signal in the daily XRP RSI. So yes, we have a bullish divergence at the same time as a bearish divergence, but remember, these are on two completely different time frames, so they don't contradict each other. Remember, the larger time frames like this weekly chart plays out over most likely a period of months, whereas let's just say this shorter term bullish divergence could play out over a period of days, maybe a couple of weeks, for example. And so let's just say if this were to play out as a typical bullish divergence, we could potentially see something like what we saw right here, a slight bullish relief, maybe even a bit of a sideways consolidation. But remember, that can happen in the short term during a larger bearish trend, which at the moment is primarily caused by this larger bearish divergence, along with, of course, just being correlated to the rest of the crypto market showing a lot of weakness. And so basically these slight little bounces on this weekly time frame are essentially those shorter term bullish reliefs, maybe a bullish divergence playing out, maybe bouncing from support that's happening. But on the weekly time frame, it's only basically a single weekly candle, maybe two weekly candles in the green during the larger pullback playing out from the larger bearish divergence. So that's still playing out on the weekly time frame. This could potentially start to play out in the shorter term over the coming days or maybe a week or two. But remember, if we break below this previous low in the candle closes with a new lower low in the daily candle closes, we'll then have to reconfirm the bullish divergence if that were to happen, because right now we're still finding a lot of resistance at this exact area I've been warning about ever since we broke below the area. I've been saying expect resistance now in between $2.30 to $2.40, and that's exactly where the price just rejected from in the short term over the last one day. But if the price can actually break out back above $2.40 with confirmation and hold above that level, in that situation we could finally see a bit more of a bullish relief, most likely up towards around $2.60. Really in between $2.60 to $2.70 is the next major area of resistance, the next major price target towards the upside. But remember, only if we first confirm a breakout above $2.30 to $2.40. That is the immediate resistance to watch out for. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now Chainlink is quite simply looking bearish. We're showing a lot of weakness right now, still clearly within a bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows. We can see the occasional short-term relief during the trend. It's not a straight line down, but overall expect a lot of weakness. We've just broken below another important area of support over the last few days, which was sitting in between around 1520 to 1570 approximately. And so far we've failed to get back above that area. In fact, we're starting to flip it into new resistance, rejecting from the area, which is just more bearish price structure, ultimately continuing the larger bearish trend that we've already been in for months now, as I've been saying for months now on the channel. And so continue to now expect resistance in between around 1520 to 1570. If we see another bounce, once again, expect resistance around there. And as for support, if we continue a further dump here, expect some support at roughly around 1340 to 1350 approximately. And if we break below all of that area, we could possibly retrace all the way back down towards these lows at around $11, give or take. But overall, Chainlink is simply looking very weak right now. Clearly, trend, momentum, price structure, all looking bearish. We can see the occasional little bounce in the short term, but overall not looking too good, especially, of course, if Bitcoin's still playing out the larger bearish divergence, especially if the stock market's continuing this shorter term pullback here. Of course, that can also influence what the crypto market is doing in the somewhat shorter term, or in the case of Chainlink, over a period of months already. But remember, you can profit in the crypto market no matter what the price is doing. For example, you could short crypto while it's dumping, play out a grid bot during some choppy sideways price action, or of course long or buy during some bullish price action. So just because we're dumping, that does not mean that there's no way to make money. You can look for ways to make money in basically any market, bull market, bear market, doesn't matter. If we're pulling back, you can still make money if you know what you're doing. And so this is definitely the time to get set up, ready to go, using one of the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to take advantage of those major bonuses, to actually claim the bonuses to get ready for the next major trading opportunity, which I will be sharing here on the channel as soon as we see another massive trading opportunity. And of course, if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves, no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.